the Gioni Show today. This series is called Iwi Influences, and it's where I talk and we discuss with some of New Zealand's most influential and brilliant minds, musicians, record producers and sports people. With me today I have the incredible Paul Ellis.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Kia ora, how are you?
Great, thank you. Excellent. Excellent.
Okay, so whānau, please pop your name down on the video. Let me know whereabouts in the world that you are watching from. Please say hi to Paul and we'll do our very best.
Well, it's a real welcome.
It is.
A real wave, yeah.
It's quite fitting for you.
Yeah.
You're on New Zealand royalty?
Yeah, Queen. Yeah, right. Yeah.
So far off to a good start. Hey, Paul, I really appreciate you coming onto the show today and talking with myself and the viewers.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation.
You're very welcome. Yeah. So let's crack into it. So you're a really well-known face in New Zealand. You've been well-known especially as a former judge on New Zealand Idol,
right,
and also on New Zealand's Got Talent.
Right.
But you also had a long history beforehand as a record producer working for Sony.
Yeah, I did A&R for Sony for about 15 years. I did a stint here in New Zealand from about 1990 through to 1997, and was very fortunate to work with people like Dave Dobbin, The Exponents, Andrew Fagan, Greg Johnson, The Straw People, and Vic Runga, and Shona Lang as well. So basically, I come out of a career in managing artists and transitioned over to working at record label. But my main passion was actually about songwriting and about music publishing, and that led me to go to New York in 1997.
So what are you doing now? What is Paul Ellis doing today?
Jack of all trades, master of none. In the climate of New Zealand, you've got to do lots of things to pay the bills, to pay for the dog food, to pay for the gas in the car.
Yes.
And so basically I do PR for different labels or artists when called by. I've done over the last few years a lot of work with Hallenstein Brothers, doing all their integration of their music on their campaigns. So we'll work with will.i.am, The Script, and Imagine Dragons, and a band called The Braves. So basically Hallenstein's came to me and said, we want to talk to our customers on a music-based level, and so that's where we've worked with them for the last 7 years on stuff like that. I've just come off being serving on the Starship Foundation board for the last 5 years, and I'm currently working with the Melanoma Foundation. So it's like, so people come to me for a music solution, or they come with a crazy idea, and I'll go, yeah, it's a good idea, or it's a stink idea, and we'll see how it works, you know. I think everything in this country is a negotiation. Yes. You know, and that's what everything about life really is, about a negotiation.
So you're talking about crazy ideas.
Yeah.
What is the craziest idea that someone has presented to you and said, Paul, let's see if this works?
My good friend Jason Terrison. Yes. When he came to me after the first earthquake in Christchurch in 2010 and said we want to put a gig on, and so him and I flew to Christchurch about 3 or 4 days after the first earthquake, went with Bob Parker, and we somehow, in a real crazy afternoon, ended up with the Prime Minister and Bob Parker on the 6 o'clock news announcing that we were going to do a concert in Christchurch to bring families together after the first earthquake. Yeah. And we got back on the plane to fly back to Auckland, and I said it to Jason. He goes, do you know how we're going to do this? And I said, I've got no idea how the heck we're going to do this, because we just thought we'd do a gig in like the town hall or the stadium, but all those buildings were actually knackered, you know, so we had to go outdoors in Hagley Park. So in 54 days we raised $460,000 of private money and built 2 40-foot stages in Hagley Park and had 36 bands over 8 hours broadcasting on national TV.
Could you believe that you did that in that time frame?
No, it was like we had a vision, and it was about bringing communities and families together. And just the other day, someone contacted me who is at the Christchurch Broadcasting School doing his end of year thesis on broadcasting, and he wanted to use band together as part of his thing for the end of the year. And he was 9 years old when he went to that concert, and he went to his mum and dad and his brothers and sisters and his grandma and grandpa, and it was his first concert that he ever went to. And that, to me, like all these years after, is that that's what it was all about, bringing families together, you know, bringing the love, bringing the araha back to the, but because that was, people didn't realise how at the time how people were so freaked out down there, you know, and Jason and I really sensed on that big time. I mean, Jason's from Christchurch, I was born in Timaru, allegedly. So I was like somewhere close to Canterbury. No, but I've got lots of friends down there, you know. So yeah, so that, I always think big. I even with, you know, with Hallenstein Brothers, you know, we presented Willie Moon, Willie Nelson, and Will.i.am as a part of the campaign pitch, and they picked Will.i.am, who, you know, when you're working with an artist of that caliber, they're crazy, so they picked the most difficult one. But I don't mind difficult. A friend of mine recently said to me, you know, that all my friends are difficult and awkward and got egos up the wazoo. You know, and I don't see the ego, I just see the pure genius of a person.
I'm just going to tap into that. About that aspect, usually genius and madness. You know, there's a very fine line, and creativity. You know, there's a fine line between it, isn't it? I mean, because my career started in journalism when I was 21, and at the Auckland Star and the Sunday Star Times, and so I was interviewing big name stars, either domestically or internationally, you know, back in the 80s, and I learned very quickly. So probably like someone like Annie Lennox. I remember interviewing her once, and I was such a huge fan of the Eurythmics, and we had a cup of tea at the hotel, and was very civil having a cup of tea with Annie Lennox, and I just realised she's just someone that does an incredible job, you know, and so I realised very early on in my career that these people, although they have the stage and the audience, they're just doing a job. They're normal people.
Well, I wouldn't say normal. Let's not go that far.
That's what makes them extraordinary, because they're not normal.
You have to think out, I mean, you know, any genius in our hemisphere or in life, you know, I stray to the crazy and not to the mundane, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. The more crazy they are, the more it's like, that could be interesting, you know.
I could flow with that.
Yeah. I mean, and so, you know, probably my friends will probably, you know, berate me for being crazy as well over the years, but you know, I love interesting people. I love art, I love fashion, I love music, you know, and those things really, they spin my boat, you know.
So was it this curiosity and love of the artistic and people and interesting things, was that what got you into being a journalist in the first place?
The truth is that I went to Australia when I was about 18 or 19, and came back to live in Blenheim in Marlborough in the South Island, and was unemployed. And at the time, WINS, whichever it was then back in the day, had this thing called the Young Persons Training Program, and I went on that program because I was unemployed, and decided that we should make a newspaper about all the people on the course as like a precursor to having a CV. And so I did that, and the Marlborough Express saw me doing that, and they printed it for free, and they hired me to sell advertising at the Marlborough Express. And through that I started writing about music.
So was there from an early age, sort of just naturally there?
Well, you know, my parents were very big in the Timaru Yacht Club, and Dad was the chairman? No, what's the word they have for the yacht club? Not the secretary. He was like in charge of the yacht club in Timaru. And every Saturday night, all the friends used to come back to Mum and Dad's place, and we had a stereogram which Dad bought the year I was born in 1962, which still works in the room next door. Still there. And they would play. I would sleep behind the couch, and they would play Val Dunican, the Black White Minstrels, probably not so PC these days, and just like all sorts of records, and I used to sleep in my sleeping bag behind the couch, and that's my favourite place.
Yeah.
So from like the age of 5, 6, 7, I just love music,
Wow.
and so I have this whole different aspect to music. Like, you know, most people are upset when there's a party next door and they ring noise control. I actually find that a soothing thing. So if I can hear people having a party next door, I just love it. Like, I can go to sleep really easy. Doesn't worry me at all.
Yeah, you're like, I'm right in my element.
Yeah. So, you know, everyone gets, oh, turn down the bloody neighbours. It's like, oh no, they're having fun. You know, it reminds me of a nice thing about life, you know? Because music is sharing. Music is a communal thing. It's not in isolation, and that's why, you know, it's a concert, it's a gig, it's a party. Music is a sharing emotion that people just do, you know, and that's why I love it.
So talking about music, and you've got these many years of experience working with some of the best artists and well-known artists in the industry.
Right.
Where do you think the music industry is currently at the moment in regards to, we were talking earlier, and how albums are kind of a thing of the past now, and as a recording artist, releasing singles is like the done thing. Do you think on that aspect that that's going to stay? And where do you think the future of music for artists is heading?
Yeah, I think that we've gone back to the single song choice, which goes back to the era of the 45, the vinyl 45, people that knows a little disc that, you know, had 2 songs.
If you're too young, Google it, you'll find it.
Yeah. Who's here, by the way?
Julie. Kia ora, Julie.
Hi,
Shane. Actually, I'll bring this a little bit closer.
I can't see.
I know now. Let's see how that is, team. Hey, there we are.
Yeah. So yeah, we've gone back to the era of the 45, where people just want to have one song, and they'll thresh the hell out of that song. I mean, back in the day, you know, when 45s were sent from the UK to New Zealand, you know, they would spin like, you know, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. And then on the other side would be like a song like Tiny Dancer, and the song would, you know, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road would wear out, so they'd flip the other side over, and then suddenly Tiny Dancer would be a hit in New Zealand, only because there was no other music.
The song was wearing out.
Yeah. And so, you know, with Spotify and Deezer and all the other streaming services, you know, I think that unfortunately for an artist these days, an album is a bit of a lost leader, actually. I think it's all about the hit single, you know, and so, because no one's really, there's no concept albums, there's no Pink Floyd, there's no Led Zeppelin, there's no, when I was at Sony, you know, working with Dave and Big Runga with Straw People, you know, we'd make cassettes of the tracks, myself and Michael Glading, who was the MD, to take people on a journey. We'd swap cassettes all the time before we actually mastered the album, to make sure we had the album flowing properly.
Yes.
People don't care about that anymore, you know?
Do you think they should? Or do you think it's just a lost cause?
I mean, if you're a purist and you're over 40, you probably would play an album. If you're under 40, no. You make up your own, you create your own playlist.
Yeah.
You know, good on you, you know? And I think it's, you know, I think it's great that music is very accessible, it's very now, and, you know, is it financially rewarding for the artist? Not so much, but it's available, you know?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
One thing that we talked a little bit in the pre-interview is the value of gigging, and you're saying that it's still very, very relevant now, that if you're a recording artist and you're out there and you're hitting the studio like myself and you're recording, that you've got to get on to do the hard yards and gig.
Yeah. I mean, gigging is vital, because one, you build an audience, and it's a real audience because they have come to see you. You can road test the songs to work out which songs don't work and which ones do work.
Love that.
You know, and so it's not an isolation of being on YouTube or Spotify, because that's not really a real audience. And you know, the BS about, you know, I'll be discovered because I'm on YouTube. Well, I'm sorry, it ain't gonna happen. Yes, you'll get a following, but is it a real following? Probably 50-50 not, 50-50 yes. You know, like, and you know, people, you know, it's great that there's artists like, you know, I love Marlon Finn, for instance, who's Tim Finn's son at the moment. He's got great stuff coming out, you know. It starts a platform and Benny and stuff like that, but, you know, really the truth, the proof in the pudding is going out there and gigging, you know, and it could be dive clubs. You've really got to start that groundwork and building up that following, because they are your real fans, not a clique. you know.
Yes, and I think that's something that can be misunderstood. I mean, often we were talking about earlier the myth with Justin Bieber, how he had his videos and he was discovered online, and that's pretty much what you need to do is post all your stuff online and get people to see you.
Yeah, but I mean, he has a great manager in Scooter Braun, you know, who picked him up, and Scooter is probably one of the best managers in the business today. You know, he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
You know, he used that platform to build where Justin is today, you know. But, you know, I think we talked about it earlier, it's just not an artist, it's an army that makes someone successful.
Love that. And that's what I think that adds a lot of value to people, for people to realise that it's not just the artist.
Yeah. I mean, people go on about, you know, I can use an example of Lord, for instance, you know, #1 in America for 9 weeks. You know, it cost the record label $1 million a week to keep the single #1 in marketing.
Wow.
$1 million a week to keep it #1. You know, they openly talk about it. That's just not her being Lord. That's the whole record company behind her. You know, yeah.
So, in regards to independent artists, so say someone like me that's doing the first little thing, they've got a single out, or many artists there. I was talking about, I've got lots of friends over in Tauranga,
Right.
and they are releasing music. So they've got their single track, they've sort of got the genre what they're working with, and they've got some gigs lined up. Is there anything else in that, in their arsenal of tools that they should be doing or could consider doing to help them start to get themselves known with their music out there?
I use the whole adage of leave no stone unturned. Like just keep on going, keep at it.
Yeah.
And if you're really passionate about it, keep that passion growing inside your heart, inside your mind. You know, keep true to yourself.
Yes.
You know, I mean, that's the whole thing, because you just never know. In my years in the business, it's really about luck and good timing.
Love that.
And having trust me, it's a lot of luck, and good timing. But also in having the right song, because a song will, if you really believe in it, it will resonate with some people at some stage.
Yes.
So don't ever give up. You know, don't ever give up. You know, I love everyone that's in the creative field. High five. You know, so just keep on going. You know. Mm.
What do you think, over your career? It's been many years. You've done so much. Is there one pivotal moment in your career that really cemented that you think that you want to be most well known for? Drop a big one.
Oof, yeah. I mean, there's many, of course, but I think in reflection, and we talked about this earlier, at the age of 25, I started to manage Shona Lang, and she was, you know, that's around the time of Glenn Kennedy.
Yes.
And Soviet Snow, etc. And she had been through the ringer of the record industry. She was on a great label called Pagan Records at the time with Trevor Reiki, which is fantastic. Love Trevor. But you know, she'd been through the ringer with EMI and bits and pieces. And so she really read me the riot act at the age of 25 and told me how our relationship was going to work, basically.
Was it surprising for you?
Well, it was good. Well, it was good for me. Yeah. You know, it was like okay, like she's a ballbuster. Like she was the total ballbuster, and I've certainly realised that a lot of female artists in the industry had been really talked down to by white middle class men, and so I had this huge respect for female singer-songwriters. And so if you look at my career, which is Shona, Bit Wronga, working with When the Cats Are Away, Cyndi Lauper and Sarah McLachlan, there are 5 outstanding women that I am so pleased to be associated with and pleased to call friends to this day, you know. And there's lots of males as well, but you know, I really found it to be quite a white, male-dominated industry, you know.
Did that affect how you promoted people and how you continued your way through the music industry as a record producer?
I think I had a sympathetic ear, and I was always like able to listen to their side of their point of view. Mm-hmm. I mean, for instance, with Bic, you know, I mean, we recorded Drive like about 6 times, and then I said to Nene, I said, it's got to be the demo. The demo is still what I wanted, and she said I'm flat, and it was like, really? I said, I just love the song. So we recorded that song with drums, guitars. How many times we recorded it, I don't know, like at least half a dozen times. And basically we ended up going with the demo with new vocal on it, you know, and that's what she wanted and what I wanted. And so it's funny, it's the difficult thing in I never forget, because I worked in promotions before I went to A&R, and I was always freaked out about, you know, people say, what's the hit song? And no one can really tell what the hit song is until it's on the radio and everyone gets to share that moment. Okay. And with people like Shona and Bick, and even with Cyndi and Sarah, you know, I never wanted them to write a hit song. I just wanted them to write what they thought was best for them at the time. Right. Because if you get into the box of trying to write for radio, it's never going to happen, basically, you know. Yeah. And so the best artists I've ever worked with don't listen to radio, and it used to actually shock me and surprise me when they would say, "I don't listen to radio," and it was like, really? Because that's how we're going to sell records. Yeah. But I understand it now, and I understood it really quickly. I mean, the whole time I was in New York, I never listened to commercial radio. Never. No. Because I just wanted to hear the raw song and be moved by that. Yes. And that's, I mean, that goes to another sort of part of my career when I worked with Enzo, with Eddie Rayner from Split Ends. Yeah. And we did the Split Ends album with New Zealand Symphony Orchestra. And my brother had come up from Blenheim, and I was running around my car doing some stuff. And I went back to the car, and he was blasting the demos in the car. And he goes, "This is incredible." I was like, "Really?" He goes, "This is great." It's like, I thought, okay. If you like this, quite a few other people might like it as well. So that gave me the gumption to go forward and do the project, basically.
So you had like that virgin air where it was just like fresh and new, and it's like, wow. And
that's what I love about music. It's a sharing thing, you know. It's a real community thing, you know. Yeah.
And it's good to hear that from you, that it's still, that's been your soul purpose. I don't know if that's the right word, but that's where your drive is coming from. Yeah. You know, it's emotional connectivity.
Yeah, it's about inclusive, not being exclusive, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You shared earlier about Desiree with her single, You Gotta Be. Mm-hmm. She released it 7 times.
Yep.
Before it actually hit.
Yeah, it was about 91, 92, 93, and she was a parody act, Desiree. What's it called again? I Want to Be? No, it's
You Gotta Be.
You Gotta Be, yeah. And we just knew it was going to be a hit, but radio wouldn't play it. So every week we go.
Why is that? Why wouldn't they play it?
Because at that stage, she wasn't back in that era. Yeah. There was a thing called the Radio Records magazine for America. She wasn't on that. She wasn't on any charts, and so New Zealand radio typically has always been quite good to UK artists, like bands like U2, UB40. You know, have always got massive radio here before anywhere else in the world. Yeah. And so we knew that there could be a chance that she could work here. And so we went back to radio. Back in those days, you know, there would be 5 or 6 record companies probably playing 4 or 5 singles every week to radio, and only 2 or 3 get added. You know, there's probably even less these days. You know, and so, you know, we just went back and finally found a window where we wore this guy down, and he started playing it, and it became a hit. And it became a hit in the UK as well, you know? Yeah. And so the good thing is I always have this adage, never give up on a good song. It's always going to, you need to go back and back and back, you know? And I'm working with a couple of artists at the moment, which you'll know about, which I still think, never give up on a good song, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's how I met Paul through Jason Kerrison. And I have to say, when I first met you, I was just like, I want to talk about the New Zealand Idol, the phenomenon of that, because you never know what people are like. And people have said since I said, you know, when we met, they were like, "Oh, what's he really like?" I'm like, honestly, he's lovely. He's a real down-to-earth guy, really super cool. Let's talk about the New Zealand Idol phenomenon that it is. Now, the first thing that I was going to say is that it's not really a talent show first. It's probably known now.
Spoiler alert, yeah.
It's really a TV show, and there is a big difference. Kia ora whānau, if you're just joining us, great. Hey. Kia ora Laurie. Kia ora Cheyenne, hello. Great to have you joining us here with Paul Ellis. So yes, it's not a talent show first.
Well, it's a monster. Idol is a monster, and you know, let's not pretend. Talent shows have been around on TV for a long time.
Yes.
There was new faces back in the 70s here in this country.
Yes.
There's people like Shona Lang and Spitheens being on and stuff like that. So the fact that Mr Cowell formatted the show and sold it internationally is, you know, a juggernaut basically.
Yeah.
You know, but I think so. It's now 15 years since the first season of New Zealand Idol.
Really 15 years.
Yeah, 15 years. And so I was looking quite good 15 years ago.
You look great now.
Oh yeah, it's all the water. And so, you know, it was in of course places like America and the UK where they have a big audience. It has afforded people a really good career, i.e. Kelly Clarkson, etc. You know, in little old New Zealand, you know, people were split whether they liked it or they hated it.
Aye.
It was very black and white.
Yes.
You know, and so but also it's an audition process, and I got frustrated in the process because a lot of people didn't bring their A game to the audition, and so they either didn't know the lyrics to the song they were singing, they just looked like they got out of bed, you know, they just didn't present themselves. So this was, you know, a time for them to shine. It wasn't just a case of like, oh, I'm going to go on a TV show, and that's what a lot of people thought, and that really upset me because I actually took it quite seriously.
Yeah.
Because you're getting a record contract, and not everyone gets a record contract these days, you know.
That's right.
You know, and you get the chance to be a household name in 16 weeks.
Yeah.
Who else gets that, you know? I mean, if someone came along to me and said, I have $7 million to market you in 16 weeks, even though I was looking at Sony, I'd never have that much money.
Yeah.
And so that's what we were, essentially the show was doing, was making Ben Lummis a star in 16 weeks.
Yeah.
Michael Murphy a star in 16 weeks. Rosita Vide a star in 16 weeks, you know?
Do you think people understood that, or do you think that was a reflection of New Zealand's she'll be right Kiwi attitude?
Yeah. But, you know, and so, I mean, I took a lot of stick from my friends in the industry because a lot of people thought it was the ruination of the music industry, where in fact, you know, Ben sold 80,000 singles and 60,000 albums. I mean, you're not talking about 6 albums, you're talking about 60,000 albums and 80,000 singles.
That's phenomenal.
And it was, you know, the music awards that year, he won for highest selling single and got booed when he went to collect the award on stage.
Oh wow, why?
Oh, because
People just thought that he'd done it for no effort or wasn't the same or whatever they thought.
people are people. People are people some days.
Yeah. Oh.
So, you know, and it was like, you know, you wouldn't boo the Beatles, you wouldn't, but I mean, not, they can't, the same thing, but it was like, come on, it's just a process, people, you know?
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, unfortunately, you know, being the size of New Zealand, we've had Idol, we've had Got Talent, and we've had the X Factor now, but we're a very small country, we've only like, you know, sub 5 million people, so those and those shows are very expensive to make, so those times have gone now. Sadly, I still wish that TVNZ didn't pull the pin on Idol, but, you know, it was just costing too much money, you know, and things have changed, you know, the landscape's changed big time.
And the thing is, it's always changing, and there are always, you need to be able to play, and sort of like we were talking about earlier with the singles, it has changed. The landscape of music is changing, so you need to be able to play and sort of know what's current and fit yourself as much as you can amongst that.
I mean, as I said earlier, I think it's. I mean, you know, I was in America when Napster was born, and with Sean Fanning, and the record companies were just horrified because, you know, they basically BMG bought it and shut it down just to get rid of it, you know. Right. And I think it's great that you can have find any song you want at the end of the, you know, you touch it on your phone within minutes, you know.
Make your own playlists is the way you
want. I'm constantly looking, searching for new stuff, you know. I'll just stick on random Spotify tracks just to hear new music, you know. It's great, it's fantastic. I mean, you don't have to worry about going to the record shop and buying the CD and coming home. It's actually quite funny because I've got a huge CD collection, obviously, from being in the industry for 30 plus years, and I'm not really playing it anymore, so I'm giving it away to the hospice shop down the road at the moment. And to the Salvation Army, because I just will never put a CD on again. I mean, I have a CD player in my car, but I don't have a CD player in the house. I just stream everything, you know.
What was the last CD that you bought? Can you remember?
Oh, last CD I brought.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
no.
do you probably get given up?
No, I have. Oh no, that's a lifetime away. Seriously, no. Oh, brought a CD.
What was that? I should
What was
know.
that?
What was
No,
that?
I can remember the first vinyl I bought.
What was the best vinyl?
Goodbye Yellow Brick Road by Elton John.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And do
Yeah.
you still have it?
Yeah, I still have it. Yeah.
Very cool.
I wanted Captain Fantastic, but it was broken, and so I got Goodbye Yellow Brick Road from the Woolworths shop in Market Street in Blenheim, and it's the first album I ever bought.
Man, you still remember. That's excellent.
Well, I used to go to boarding school, and so I was so into the music. I used to go stand in the record shop and read all the liner sleeves and read the lyrics and read who produced it and who wrote it and who played on it. And I used to spend hours in the record shop
Wow.
just reading all the liner sleeves.
Yeah.
And so I sort of built up a rapport with the guy behind the counter,
Yeah.
and he was like, you shouldn't really be
Is he
doing.
young fella again?
Yeah, he's like, yeah. So I knew where it was mastered and who mixed it and that sort of stuff. So that was like, and I was like, you know how old was he? I was like
In school.
12, 13 when I started doing that. Like a real geek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pouring over these.
Pouring over line notes. Now, you buy a seat, well, you know, you can't read, because as soon as I hear a song, I want to hear who wrote it, who mixed it, who produced it.
Aye.
And you can't find that information out. You know, you got to really.
You have to dig.
Yeah.
It's
You know,
true.
so that's my geeky moment. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the most successful people are inherently geeks. So
Right.
I don't think many people are going to be surprised. We knew it came from somewhere.
So then that stood me in good stead, because when I went to working at Sony, I knew where to get my albums mastered or who to go to and who were the great producers and that sort of stuff. So I had some knowledge of all that sort of stuff from like really early on, you know. Yeah.
So how did you get the Sony gig?
I was managing Shona Lang in a band called the Fan Club. I had a stoush with the some people at CBS Records on a Friday night, drinks, where I got lippy and said they weren't doing their job correctly to help support my ex, and went home, and the next morning the managing director rang me and said, "What are you doing tonight?" And I was like, I'm in the shit. And he goes, "I need to see you." And I went to his house and he offered me a job.
That would be the last thing you thought you were going to do.
Yeah, I thought he was going to give me I thought he was going to tell me like I was a little jumped upstart.
Yeah.
And he said, he sort of piece of paper across the table and said, "That's how much you can start on Monday if you want." And I was broke at the time. I was so broke, it was unbelievable. My office was the garage underneath the house I was living in, and so I started as a promos person taking records to radio.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and it was like I was bitten by the bug pretty quickly. Yeah.
So have you ever written any music of your own, or have you recorded any songs, or what about your musical?
No, I've never. I've given some pretty good ideas for songs over the years, I must say.
Yep.
None of them's ever been taken. No, my guilty pleasure when I was in my teenage years was I used to do amateur theatre.
Oh yes, the amateur theatre. It's where my heart is, yeah.
Because living in Blenheim was pretty socially quiet.
Yes.
And my friends told me that the Operatic Society had the best parties.
Oh yeah, so that's where you're.
And so I auditioned for, my first show was Jesus Christ Superstar, and I rang up my father and said I'm going to be in this musical called Jesus Christ Superstar with the Blenheim Operatic Society, and he said to me, "Oh son, be careful, I think some of those people might be a bit dodgy." And I had no idea what he was meaning. And so I was in like Flint basically. Yeah. So I did Jesus Christ Superstar, Godspell, well, you name it, South Pacific, all that sort of stuff. And it was fun. That was my guilty pleasure when I was, rural New Zealand,
Yes.
Yeah. But I can't really sing.
Would you do it again? Would you do any more? Would you around here, and we're in Auckland, would you do it again?
I don't think I have the confidence now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you come across as so
I know.
confident.
Yeah, no. I don't think I'd be able to I can't hold a note, I know that. But, I mean, yeah, I've thought about it, but the
old Kiwi, yeah. Hey, kia ora, Donna, great to have you on board. Heidi, kia ora, welcome to the show, guys. This is Iwi Influencers, the series where we interview and we sit down and have a chat with New Zealand's biggest names, entrepreneurs, musicians, sporting people. We have got the incredible Paul Ellis today. As you know, he's a record producer. He's been a radio show host and he's worked for Sony, and he's also, as you know, worked for New Zealand Idol, been the judge there. So we're sitting down just having a little chat today and getting to know Paul one-on-one. So welcome to the show. It's great to have you here. Okay, so Paul, I want to find out, what is the next stage for you? I know that can I reveal about your book?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So I know that the little thing that you're working on currently at the moment is that you're working on your memoirs, working on writing a book.
Yep.
You showed me a little bit the manuscript that you've got. I love the title. Would you just like to share with people about what it's about? So
I've had a couple of approaches over the last few years for people to write a book, an autobiography or something, and I've always been a little bit scared, like, one, who will buy it, and two, what would it look like, you know? And so for me, it has to be aspirational, inspirational, and motivational. It's not going to be a motivational book. It's not going to be a tell-all. I don't really have any big tell-all secrets about, you know, the people I've worked with, because whatever happened, and I don't want to muckrake. It won't be a kiss and tell type of thing, you know. But I want to, you know, so the basis of the book will be is influential people throughout my career, whether they be well known or not well known, and they will write 100 words or 200 words about the first time that we first met.
Yes.
And then I will write the chapter after that. So it'll be the first time I met with Bill Brogner or Dave Dobbin or Cyndi Lauper or, you know, Ray Davies or who knows who. I mean, people don't want to write Shona, for instance, you know. If they don't want to write something, that's fine as well. If they say, I have nothing to say, then that's actually, I don't mind that.
See you with I have nothing to say.
Like, piss off, I hope I never see you again, you know, type of thing, you know. That's fine. And so yes, I've been, you know, I grew up in the Marlborough Sounds doing correspondence, you know, and then I worked my way to work on Madison Avenue, worked for this big, you know, international record company. So, and I've done, you know, here's my friend, look, and I've done, so, who's that? It's a big, hi Karen, would like to what? Oh, live. Oh, okay. I can't read that.
Oh, okay. It says, kia ora, Karen, would have liked to watch this live, but crash practicing the flute parts right now. Oh, darling, I'm sorry. For rehearsal tonight for the upcoming 4-night Christmas concert over your way. Yes, Matamata, that's on Sunday. My little fella's in that, so we'll catch you there.
So yeah, so I mean, I realised that that I've had a pretty cherished life, and it's been, but I've worked really hard. You know, I haven't slacked around. You know, so, and if I can share that motivation with someone else, and that drives them to succeed in whatever they want to do, then that would be tick that box for me. You know, it's not about inflating my own ego at all. I mean, and it's also a way of documenting my life. I mean, I just found I just recently moved, and I pulled stuff out of storage that had been in storage for 10 years. Go pay that bill. And I found my diary, which I kept for the first year that I was in New York. Every day I wrote in the diary.
What were you saying about it?
Yeah. And so I'm reading that, and that's quite full on. That's really great. It's like, it's great. It's good. It's
great. Stuff that you remember, you're like, oh, I don't remember writing that, I don't remember that.
No, but because sometimes my day in New York would start at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I wouldn't get home till 1 or 2 o'clock in the evening, because you go to work, do the work, then you go to dinner, then you go to a gig, then you go to another gig, and then you go to another gig, and then you finally get home. Yeah. And it was just like, it was the first year was just mind-blowing, you know. I was out 5 nights a week, you know, at gigs. And the funny thing is, like, we'd go to a gig at, because the showcases between 7 and 9 p.m. Yeah, okay. So you go to showcases first, so you go to jump around a few bars, see a few sets of bands, then go for dinner. And then if there was a big act in town like a Oasis or a Sade or something like that, you go to Madison Square Garden and you wouldn't see the whole gig, but you'd see like the last half hour of the gig, and then you go backstage and meet the artist. And they go, how was the gig? And I was like, oh, amazing.
Half an hour into it?
Half an hour. We still half an hour. We're here flying the company flag. It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. It's like bullshit. It's just that we were so busy, you know? And I always used to try and make an effort when we had artists in from outside of, non-American artists, to make sure that someone was from the company, saw them. Because there's nothing worse than the artist playing playing a gig and then no one turning up from the record company. I mean, it's just, it sucks.
So take support. So you know that we've got you. We've got your back.
Yeah, and I used to also go, like, I'd fly to Chicago or go to Miami or go to other places. So, because in New York or LA, everyone's around. So I would sometimes go to other parts of America, which is great for me to see the rest of America, just to let someone know that they were there. And you actually got to spend more quality time with an artist when they were in Chicago or Miami or Detroit or Pittsburgh or Chicago, because there wasn't the big hoopla of all the around, and so that was really important for me to really understand how they were getting on, how everything was going for them, if they were happy with everything,
So it's that real connection, rather than just like, as you said, maybe just half an hour or briefly seeing them. You actually get to spend a bit more time.
The first time I met Sarah McLachlan, I flew to Aspen, Colorado, and we played pool all afternoon in a bar.
Awesome.
All afternoon. Like, she said, do you play pool? I was like, yeah, but not that well. She goes, well, you better get,
better start learning.
And so we played pool all afternoon, and we just chatted about songwriting and about her career and what her dreams and what stuff was, And then when we went back to work, they said, how was Sarah? And I said, well, she plays a pretty good main game of pool. And we, what do you mean pool?
What do you mean pool?
Pool. Yeah. But I love that. I love that, I love nothing more, and so we're still great mates. That's how you really get to understand somebody.
You sort of fit into their world. What they're into, you get to hang out with them and actually see the real person, rather than like, oh well, this is the Sarah McLachlan, the singer, the performer. It's like, there's so much more.
Yeah, but I mean, even like people like Neil Finn. I never forget. I was at the Auckland Star, and Crowley House were huge, obviously, 1988.
Yes.
And they opened the tour in Whangarei, and so I went up to Whangarei to review the first show of the tour. And backstage, Neil was so nervous, and this is like 1988, I think. Don't Dream It's Over was number 2 in America at the time, and I was quite stunned to see how nervous he was.
Oh yeah.
You
think he's a professional, he's like totally saying that.
But and he was like, it was with an eye opener. And the thing is though, any performer that is worth their merit, if they're not nervous before a show, or have got something going on, that's actually that propels that performance. I mean, Dave Dobbins talked openly about throwing up before he goes on stage a lot, and that's because the anxiety thing, and it's I mean, I would say that 90% of the people that you see on stage are actually shy or introverted.
Yes.
And so their performance is a caricature of themselves in some ways.
Yeah. Who they wish they could be, or what they
and they are. But some people are really happy with it. But most people, it's the thing like I wouldn't do musical theatre because I'd be crap to start off with. But the anxiety thing, and that's another thing I found actually in my diary the other day, is that with the Idol thing, because I was at a bit of a low ebb and not knowing what to do with my career, and I wrote in my diary that I had to do the show to try and overcome my anxiety.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So you're on like a national TV program, and you wouldn't think that you are writing in your diary about anxiety.
Yeah. And I've always suffered from it, but I never really thought about it. Yeah.
So was there a moment where you're like, actually, I think I'm getting anxious, or was there something that you realised what it was, or how did that process?
I think I've been here from get go.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Being the youngest of 3 kids, I don't know. Who knows? I'm not going to go too deep into that.
Yeah. I like that, but that's encouraging for me, because I know for many years, I mean, not on any big level, but I've been singing little concerts for years.
Right.
And my family would know that I'd get extremely nervous, and then I'd be like a mess before a show.
Right.
And then I started learning that these other artists would be the same.
Yeah.
And I was like, it just was like a comfort thing. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not silly, because...
So did that add to your performance though?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'd hit the stage, and that's why I like the character thing.
Yeah.
As I'd go on stage and I could be who I suppose I wish I would be.
Yeah.
On, I'd really feel.
Yeah.
I'd step on the stage and then I could be a character and perform.
Yeah. Yeah.
But beforehand, as Dione,
Yeah.
I'd just be nervous and go, I hope I know the songs, hope I can sing it properly, hope they like it. Yeah. All that nonsense that goes around your head.
I mean, it was funny because like with Idol, it was like we did the auditions, which is fine, right?
Yeah.
And suddenly, bang, we're on live TV. Well, I had no idea how I was meant to act on live TV.
Of course. So you had no coaching at all?
No, I had no idea.
Oh.
So I went to the producer and said, what do I do?
Yeah.
He goes, just be yourself. I said, is that good enough? He goes, yeah, I think it'll be okay. Like, okay. So, and then like suddenly on the friggin' live national TV, you've no training, no nothing.
You're a household name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
You cope extremely well.
I think no.
Well, because you're like the hard guy, the tough judge, and all
Yeah.
That's how it was seen.
I know.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're a lovely man.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. No. So. Yeah. No. I mean, but I think any great performer you read about, anyone, they have anxiety or but basically the shyness, and a lot of people mistake arrogance for shyness as well. People think, oh, they're very arrogant, and you hear that sometimes with an artist, whether it's an actor or a singer or whatever, they're stuck up. And they're not actually stuck up; they're just really shy.
I think that's a really valid point, because people don't understand that there is that difference.
Yeah.
That a lot of people, especially artists, are very, very, they're introverted in some aspects, because their craft is so personal to them that they don't necessarily want to be showing their whole heart, as they do on stage so many times.
Yeah, and so you read about people saying like they don't like doing press or don't like. It's like I get it, you get it, and that's when the job of an A&R is actually just not also making the records. It's guiding the artist through the catacombs of a record company, whether it's marketing and PR, to make sure they're happy. And so like Bic, which came to America, or even with Sarah, or with like Cyndi Lauper hated all the marketing, would go around behind her, and that's what really drove her crazy,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was my job to sort of placate, help, dialogue throughout everyone, so everyone knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And so it's really important. My whole mandate is, I may not be giving you good news as an artist sometimes, but I'm going to give you the truth.
Yes.
I'm not going to blow smoke up your butt. Yeah. You will. Because a lot of that, in America especially, I learned very early on that, and I did some working with Shona. Everyone say, oh, she's amazing. Nothing bloody happened. They told us that she was amazing, but what did they do to help us break the record? And I had some staff members in America who used to say, and I'd play a track in an A&R meeting, and they go, "Well, that's a really, it's a interesting choice of song," and I go, "Interesting? What does that mean? Interesting? Is it interesting bad?
Interesting
good?
Yeah.
We used it. They said, oh, it's quite fascinating." And it was like,
that's just a different word for the same thing.
Yeah, it's like, but that's very, and so I just caught like, okay, you don't like it? Like, I was very black and white. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to piss around the artist, their manager, their team, and that can happen. I mean, there's so many records that are made that are not released, that just go into the vaults. It's really frustrating to see people who really churn out really good records, and then the record company just like basically destroy their careers, Yeah, we don't see it so much in this part of the world because, budgets aren't as big. But in America, I mean, I would say for every 100 records that are made, 50 don't make the record, make the street. Yeah, easy,
That must have made you I would think anyway, as an artist, that must have made you an asset though, because you come from a place of truth.
Yeah.
Where first and foremost, I'm not going to kiss your butt, for lack of a better
Well,
word.
but also I think when I was making records here in New Zealand, I had to get the records released and they had to sell, otherwise I wouldn't have a job. I'd be fired, you know. So I came with that sort of adage inside my head, you know, like we've made the record, we have to release it because it has to sell, because someone needs to recoup the money some on the way, you know, because you're measured as an A&R person with your successes, you know, and if you don't succeed, you do lose your job in the end, you know.
Is there a song or record that you're most proud of that you have released?
I think I don't have a favourite because that's unfair, because I've worked with so many great artists. You know, whether it's Vic or Shona or the Straw People or Andrew Fagan or Sarah or Cyndi. I'm the favourite of the last best song I've heard, basically.
I love that.
That's my. I mean, I got like there are some desert island songs, but push comes to shove, Drive still has to be one of the highlights of my career. You know, and it was the last song on the cassette when she came to my office, and she was 17 years old.
Wow.
And I remember just staring at the carpet, and we had this really terrible carpet, gauche carpet, and I just remember staring at the carpet. It was about 5:30 at night, and Wayne Bell brought Vic Roman to meet me, and I just thought, oh my God, this is like a mind-blowing song, so mind-blowing. And she was 17, and I just been staring at her thinking, like, she's too young for this game, like she's too young to be sucked into this huge corporation with Sony Music, you know. And I was really worried about that, and so I was, really felt for her. Now that sort of goes back to that Shona Lang thing, because Shona Lang was so young when she got sucked into the whole thing back in the day, you know. So it's very, that was resonating inside my head. Of course, we did end up doing a deal, and the rest is history. And she's an amazing artist, and I'm so proud that she's just been named as the writer on the APRA Silver Scroll board. So she just got voted to be the writers representative on the APRA Silver Scroll. Well, APRA, not the Silver Scroll, the APRA board. I'm so pleased for her. It's great. I'm so pleased for her. So chuffed, because she is a great businesswoman, a great person. Full stop. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What one piece of advice do you think you could give to artists and people out there, musicians in the industry? And I know I can't imagine actually from your experience, if there is one thing, but if there is one thing that you could say to help artists out there, what would it be?
Follow your dream and don't give up. Don't give up.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. I mean, everybody in the industry called music has been rejected at some stage. Everyone in the movie industry has been rejected. Everyone in television has been rejected. Bob Dylan was turned down by many labels before he finally got signed. So was Bruce Springsteen. You know, out of rejection usually comes a real positive stance. And so if you believe in yourself, then keep on believing in yourself. Don't worry about what anyone else would think. Just believe in yourself, and then you will succeed at whatever you want to do in life. Whether it's music, arts, architecture, whatever. Just believe in yourself. You know, it comes from you, and you can't expect. You can have a team around you. You can have a team around you. That's fine. You have a manager. You have lawyers. You can have blah blah blah. You have what the wazoos. But it's always got to be your vision and your mandate. And if you're true to yourself, then that truth will eventually win through. Is that too heavy?
No, I was sitting here thinking to myself, I follow the stories of many successful people, like on YouTube, watch videos and buy the books.
Right.
And across the board, that is the main theme for most of their success.
Right.
Is that they've had stuff that doesn't go wrong, they've been carpenters or whatever, and something's turned up and it just doesn't work until some of them are in their 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
But then finally they crack it because they just never gave up on their dreams.
Yeah. I mean, and my dreams basically just been to have a bloody good time, which I've had a bloody good time, you know. And it's only I'm in my later years sort of reflecting on what I've done, and I still know I've got more to give. And you know, I've done some pretty great stuff in the last few years with charities, and that's my main drive at the moment. If I could live full time doing philanthropy, I would do that. Yes. You know, I just love it. It sort of started with the Band Together thing I did with Jason. It's been on the Starship board, and now the foundation, Melanoma Foundation, and I just love it. I love it. I mean, I was at the airport 3 weekends ago, you know, collecting gold coins at the airport. I just love it. It's just so great. It just spins my wheels. Yes. You know, getting money off people, you know, it's great.
I can see that because your face lights up. I can see the genuine.
It's great. I loved, you know, I did the Starship Christmas albums a few years ago, and everyone told me that they wouldn't work, they wouldn't sell. Well, they sold 30,000 copies each.
There's Paul in there.
Yeah. And we, you know, my little company, me and two others, you know, we raised $490,000 for Starship in 2 years, you know. It was great. And it's funny, I think that when people throw down the gauntlet and say something won't work, I usually know it's going to work.
Yeah.
So, like, for instance, you know, people told me numerous times about bands that I was managing, they weren't going to work, you know, and they worked. You know, even as far as New Zealand Idol was concerned, a lot of my friends said, don't do it, it's going to be bad for your career, you know. And so I thought,
next minute,
I'll just do it, you know. You know, and it gave me a whole different lease. I love media, I love broadcasting, you know, I love the whole thing. So it was a real chance for me to, you know, suck all that knowledge up, you know. I'm a bit of a sponge, you know. I don't just go on TV, I talk to the crew, I talk to the production people, you know. I go and see how the whole thing's working, because it really it spins my wheels, you know.
Yeah. You're genuinely interested. You go and do your research. It's not just like, you know, just do the superficial stuff.
No. Yeah.
Hey, look, it's been an absolute pleasure to sit down.
Bit of a ramble.
Hey, no, it's fascinating. And my father and I are here on the Journey Show that I just like to sit down and talk with people one-on-one and get to know, you know, the real Paul, like what floats your boat and stuff that you can find all the other stuff on YouTube and Google and all that stuff.
Well, the good thing is about YouTube and all those platforms, they went around when I was on TV. So, and the broadcaster was very, very tight. You couldn't bring your phone into the studio back in the day.
Yep.
So all that stuff's not there, which is great. It's not there.
Thank goodness.
Thanks for watching, guys. I can't see.
Anadu, so we got Anadu, almost the man himself. That's right. See, I wasn't just fudging. Get him to sign. Get him to sign you up, Jody. It is.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you guys watching and for joining me today to chat and get to know Paul a little bit more. It has been a genuine honour to get to know you and to talk with you. I know we sort of went for a bit of a hikoi around a couple of weeks ago in Raglan, just chatting. And it was through that I thought, oh, you're just such a fascinating man and so genuine.
Oh, thank you.
So I just want to say thank you for your time, because I know that you've got a lot to do and different things, and just thank you for taking the time to be on the show today.
That's a real privilege. Thank you very much indeed for inviting me.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, guys, so please share the video if you're going to find some insights on this, and you will. I mean, so this is one of New Zealand's most...
I wouldn't go that far.
He is. He's always like downplaying himself. But if you want to know the music industry, Paul drops some massive tips in this interview. So please share it around with your buddies, share it around to your friends. I'm going to share this onto a few music groups. So just have a look at that, check out the interview, and we'll catch you back here on the Journey Show for more Kiwi karaoke fun. And that's going to be running this Friday with a special guest artist. Yes. So for me and from Paul, ka kite.